Today, we're just going to get right into it as your favorite talking head does his best to review another television show. That's right, I'm addicted to TV and you should be too. This just happens to be my review on Only Murders in the Building, Season 3, which just ended, and I'm going to miss it if this is it, and it might just be. Hi, I'm your host, Chris Humphrey, and for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm just another bum doing my best to get my opinion out there. Seems to be a little bit of a weirder uh, timeline that we're in with the writer's strike ending and hopefully SAG soon, but why not? Only Murders in the Building, Season 3 just wrapped. Let me give you my best take now. With that new format, we're going to go reverse down to the end, and that's where we get to where we want to get to. I thoroughly enjoyed this season, so I'm going to give it an 8. It wasn't perfect by any means. It wasn't as good as, say, the first season, but it was just as good as a delight. But first, we better talk about the elephant in the room. And this elephant seems to be that somebody gave their personal opinion on the great Martin Short from Hamilton, Ontario. They didn't really like his style of comedy and they didn't really like it. I bet you $100 he was sitting in his multi-million dollar mansion in LA because he's worth lots of money, and he was probably reading this opinion going, I've been getting this my whole life, and probably laughing. I get it, it's his opinion, and we don't really do opinion pieces anymore because we're always so afraid to say we don't like his stuff. But yes, I understood where the opinion was coming from because he's an acquired taste now. I grew up with SCTV, and I grew up with uh, every party needs a pooper, and that's why we invited you. I grew up with his style, very Canadian type of sense of humor, so I'm a fan. I will admit I've been a fan. Three Amigos, I think, was the first film I ever saw him in when I was young and beautiful. And SCTV, oh my God, I must have quoted him a million times. So you have to like that kind of comedy. Now, this is not the same guy in Only Murders in the Building. It's not the same Martin Short that I grew up with, right? He's not as over the top. He's a little more down to earth, a little more human, a little bit of a big shot. And I think this is why the newer generation is finally getting to see him and getting to see his stick. And I don't want to jinx it for the guy, but they seem to be really enjoying this, and they seem to be really enjoying him. And about time somebody notices him enough to complain about his old, tired, over the top yelling and screaming stick that he's done and made money off of for the last 30 years, to complain that he's a really, I bet you, I don't know him personally, he's a really nice guy. Now back to the show at hand, because I can go on about Martin Short for hours on end. He's with his best buddy, Steve Martin, or maybe it's his arch rival, because they look like they hate each other, except they don't. And they do their best to solve another murder. This one just happens to be Paul Rudd's murder, which is how they ended season 2. And now we got to figure out who done it. I'm happy for this revival of who done it films, movies, television, books. There seems to be a bit of a revival. Agatha Christie is probably one of my favorite writers, uh, and I'm not going to say no to Agatha Christie at any time. What I do uh, like to say is that Selena Gomez comes into her own this season, and it shows you that she can hang with the big guns. Although she was a musician, I think she's worth more than her two male cohorts, anyways. Um, but she shows that she can do it. What the reason why I only gave this thing an 8 is because it's bogged down with a lot of cameos. And the cameos I appreciate because I'm old. So seeing Mel Brooks on FaceTime complain about Matthew Broderick in the producers is fun for me. But when you have a show where it's reliant on that, that's where the downfall comes in. But it is nice uh, seeing Martin Short do his thing, Steve Martin do his thing, where they play off of each other, and Selena Gomez comes into her own. I just wanted more. And when it gets to the point of who the actual killer is, you kind of just go, I've seen this movie. And that's part of the problem. I think that probably has to do with Fox trying their best to get this out there before the whole strike. I took advantage of everything. I don't know if you guys even like this show. I don't know if you even want to see it because you don't like Martin Short or you don't like Steve Martin type of comedy. Right? If you don't, go out and watch Three Amigos, go out and watch The Jerk, go out and watch every episode of SCTV that you can find so you can really appreciate Martin Short's type of comedy. Hell, Arrested Development. Go out there and watch that. Watch Martin start Short steal the show in the morning show in Schmigadoon. He's been around. To the poor person that said his opinion that he didn't like his comedy and got railroaded. Well, shit, man, that just tells you one thing, that opinions are a lot like Steve Martin. Everybody's got one, but they're not really useful. Uh, but what I wanted from the show is I just wanted a little more, and that twist of who it was just a little too blatantly obvious. But it was nice seeing the whodunit and Paul Rudd and Meryl Streep and Matthew Broderick and the greatest Jewish comedian of all time, Mel Brooks, show up. It was nice. It was just too much jammed into one. And you get all these actors who look like they're just having a blast being on film together. And with, when you're alongside Martin Short, uh, who can, right? There's a reason why his lovely wife put up with him for so long. Um, and I do have a funny story about them back when I was young and beautiful uh, in Muskoka, but that's for a different time. Uh, but there's a photo out there of his wife looking a little perturbed by her husband, and I was like, "Oh, that's the ultimate like Martin Short photo." And if I can find it, I'll put it on there. But she put up with a lot of Canadian shit. Hamilton. That's why I wore this, to show them that there's a real football team playing somewhere. But there's a photo, and whenever I saw these two when I was young and beautiful in the Muskoka area, she always had that same face, like she's just putting up with him because he can be funny sometimes. But us Canadian sense of humor, we kind of go at it. And I've seen that face from his lovely wife once or twice, where she's trying to get him to shut the hell up. Good memories, but this turned into me praising Martin Short for a little bit. But there are good things like Jesse Williams and other things that do such a good job in this season. But it's just too much crammed into it, and I get that it's a whodunit, and it's supposed to be, but let me know what you guys think of it. If you even liked it, if you think it deserves an 8, maybe a 7 for some, maybe an NR for others. But you know what I'm going to say. I love you guys. Let me know what you think of me down below. Let me know what you think of my team. I appreciate your patience. You know what I'm going to say. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night if I don't see you. Ciao. Producer, hit the theme song to this, except I don't want Stars and Disney Plus to sue me. Ciao.